What is up, everybody? Welcome to DFS by the Numbers. This is my full card breakdown and prediction video for UFC 301. We got Alexandre Pantoja going against Steve Erceg, the flyweight title on the line, 14 fights on this card. Solid card, really solid card, really good main card as well. Looking forward to it. Lots of interesting spots. We are in Brazil. We have a Brazilian in all 14 fights, which is going to be pretty cool to see as well. So yeah, looking forward to breaking it all down. Before we do so, if you guys could smash the like button, is always much appreciated. Subscribe to the channel, getting really close to 25K. I think we're like 600 away from 25K. If we could hit that in the near future, that would be awesome. And then also, since this is a pay-per-view card, I'm going to be bringing back the Significant Strike contest. To enter the contest, like the video, subscribe, and then comment down how many significant strikes you think that Alexandre Pantoja and Steve Erceg are going to combine for. $25 to whoever gets closest. If there's a tie, the tiebreaker does go to the person that commented first. Last time we did it for UFC 300, I think 3 different people were like 1 strike away from nailing it there. So comment down those significant strikes. We'll see if somebody can hit it on the dot for this main event here. Do want to shout out Prize Picks. This video is brought to you by Prize Picks. If you guys want to check it out, get a 100% deposit match using promo code DFSBTN. I'll be doing a Prize Picks video for UFC 301 Wednesday-ish or Thursday around there. And I'll also be touching on a couple Prize Picks plays I like on this video as well. So if you guys want to check out Prize Picks, highly recommend, and use that promo code DFSBTN for a 100% deposit match. The best way to always support me is signing up on dfsbythenumbers.com. That's where you'll find all my content, the stats you see on the Friday, the Saturday shows. I do a bunch of articles. I do a full card best bet article where I break down the entire fight, give my prediction, the round, the method, the best bet, the confidence ratings, and just a ton more content on there. Prize Picks article and entry, just a ton more content. And again, it is the best way to support me, dfsbythenumbers.com. And then also be on the lookout for some content this week. I'll be doing my regular Friday live stream, my regular Saturday live stream best bet, and then Wednesday I'll be doing a show with Uncle Weezy on my channel, 10 o'clock Eastern time. It's going to be Probability, a show that I'm really looking forward to debuting on the channel, where we're just going to go through, talk props, talk over-under, so check that out as well. So a ton of content for a big card in UFC 301, but I say we get into some fights, guys, and we're going to start with the first fight on the card, and they're starting us off with an absolute banger. We got Alessandro Costa taking on Kevin Borjas. We got Costa, who's 28 years old, 5'4", with a 67-inch reach, 13-4 and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Kevin Borjas, 26 years old, 5'5", with a 68-inch reach, 9-2 and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. We'll take a look at the odds like we always do, and we see that Costa opened up -125. He's now -135, and Borjas opened up +105. He's currently +115. And yeah, so Alessandro Costa was somebody that I was really high on. I remember researching him from his Contender Series fight and just being very impressed with the guy. The guy, I think, is very well-rounded. On the feet, he has a ton of power, throws with very bad intentions. And then also, we haven't really seen it thus far in the UFC, in his 3 UFC fights, but he's a really good grappler. Black belt in BJJ, extremely slick on the mat. And again, we haven't seen that yet, but this could potentially be the fight where he does show that off a little bit. But yeah, he's pretty good everywhere, dangerous guy everywhere, and I'm very impressed with Alessandro Costa. He is 1-2 in the UFC thus far, but you look at his 2 losses, Amir Albazi on short notice, absolutely no shame in that, and then lost to Steve Erceg, who's literally fighting for a title. So no shame in that. I think Alessandro Costa is very good. Kevin Borjas, there's not a lot of tape on the guy on Borjas. I think I was able to watch a couple fights, but I went and watched the Victor Diaz fight on the Contender Series. In that fight, Victor Diaz took him down 6 times, was able to control him for about half the fight, about 7.5 minutes, but Borjas did a really good job working his way back up for the most part, and then on the feet, he was just very high volume, and even in the Joshua Van fight, he was looking really good against Joshua Van early, but Joshua Van took over in the 2nd and 3rd round, and yeah, that's not a bad loss as well, so I think both these guys are very good. I think this fight's going to be an absolute banger. I think Alessandro Costa being a slight favorite makes a lot of sense, because I think he has more ways to win. I can see him really winning by either method. I think he could potentially land a big shot and hurt Borjas, knock him out. I think if he gets this fight down to the mat, I think he's going to have a big advantage down there. And then I could also see him doing enough to win a decision as well. So Borjas, he does have power. He does have volume. Costa's been knocked out twice, but I just feel like Costa has more ways to win. I'll take Costa to win this fight. I think he gets the fight down to the mat and gets a sub, actually. So I'll take Alessandro Costa to win this fight by 2nd round submission. Moving on, We got Ismael Bonfim going against Vinc Pichel. We got Bonfim, 28 years old, 5'8" with a 71-inch reach, 19-4. And 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Vinc Pichel, 41 years old, 5'10" with a 72-inch reach, 14-3, 3-2 in his last 5 fights. We have, of course, Brazilian here, and Ismael Bonfim. He's from Brazil. We have Vinc Pichel, who's, I believe, from Hell. So he's coming all the way from Hell to Brazil, which I think is a decent trip there. But yeah, I mean, Vinc Pichel, he's 41 years old at this point, and these guys were actually supposed to fight not too long ago. I think like late last year, maybe November, December-ish, and Bonfim showed up 3.5 pounds overweight. The fight got called off, and since then it has been a couple months. The last time Vinc Pichel was fought was 2 years ago, which I think is a major concern, considering the guy at this point is 41 and a half years old. The last time that we saw Vinc Pichel win a fight, I want to say it was against like maybe Austin Hubbard, and that was a long time ago. Yeah, Austin Hubbard back in 2021. So, Vinc Pichel, he's only getting older. 41 and a half years old. At this point, he's like one of the oldest fighters on the entire roster at this point. So Bonfim's much younger. I think that's huge. Again, this is in Brazil. I like the striking of Bonfim. I think he's a very good striker. I like the volume. He has some power as well, mixes it up to the body. The hole in Bonfim's game, though, is that grappling. Has 4 losses. All 4 of those losses come by submission. And in theory, like Pichel, he's a black belt. He's decent at getting fights down to the mat. It's just, again, he's 41 and a half years old, and he's taken a major layoff. Like, Vinc Pichel could show up and look horrible. I mean, that you don't like seeing a layoff that long for somebody, that much up in age. Like, for some of these younger guys, when they take layoffs, I think it's a lot better than like a 41-year-old taking a big. I just don't like seeing that. So I think Bonfim wins. He's a massive favorite, though. I mean, he opened up -400. He's currently -550. Vinc Pichel opened up +300. He's currently +400, which is kind of crazy considering, like, in theory, Vinc Pichel has a path. It's just I don't really. It's hard to get to it. It's very hard to get into Vinc Pichel. I think Bonfim stuffs the majority of these takedowns, and then when it's on the feet, I really do think it's one-way traffic. Pichel's not like a terrible striker. It's just I really do like the striking of Bonfim. He's 28. He's only getting better. I'm taking Bonfim to win this fight by a pretty one-sided decision, I'll say. Moving on, we got Dione Barbosa going against Ernesta Kareckaite. We got Barbosa, 31 years old, 5'6" with a 66.5-inch reach, 6-2, 3-2 in her last 5 fights. Ernesta Kareckaite, she's 25 years old, 5'9" with a 71-inch reach, 5-0-1, and 4-0-1 in her last 5 fights. We'll take a look at the odds. Barbosa opened up -185, currently -195. Ernesta opened up as a +160 underdog. She's currently +170. And, I think it's a close fight here. This is a striker versus grappler matchup. Ernesta's striking was honestly really impressive. She's very high volume, really good cardio. She's going to push a pace, and more so in that Contender Series fight. She went out there in that Contender Series fight and landed almost 200 significant strikes in that fight. I think it's like 180 something in that fight. She threw down. It was a good look. But even like outside of that, I like her striking. She's going to come forward. She's going to throw a ton. She's very active. And yeah, she's a really good striker. As far as Barbosa, she's a black belt in BJJ. I think she has a judo background as well. And yeah, when she gets fights down to the ground, she has solid control. Can lose position here and there. I've seen her get reversed. I've seen her end up on her back, and she's content to kind of, lose minutes off her back. But that's because she's very confident in her ground game. I think this fight's going to all come down to who's able to implement that game plan. Is Barbosa going to be able to get takedowns here, get on top of Ernesta? If she does, I think she can win minutes, potentially get a sub. But if Ernesta's able to stuff some of these takedowns, and even if she gets taken down, survive, get back up, I think she can do the better work, land more on the feet. So in my opinion, I think it's a close fight. I'm going to slightly lean with Ernesta here to get the job done. Not a ton of confidence, but I'll say she wins a volume-based decision. Maybe gets taken down here or there, but survives. I don't think her takedown defense is terrible. I've seen her taken down here or there, but I think her takedown defense is okay enough to win this fight. So I'll take Ernesta Kareckaite to win this fight by a volume-based decision. Probably a close decision as well. Moving on. We have a very fun fight here. We have Mauricio Ruffy going against Jamie Mullarkey. We got Ruffy, 30 years old, 5'11", with a 75-inch reach, 9-1 and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Jamie Mullarkey, he is 29 years old, 6 foot with a 74-inch reach, 17-7 and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. We'll take a look at the odds, and we have Ruffy as the favorite, opening up -155, currently -175. Jamie Mullarkey opening up +135. He's currently +150. And it's Jamie Mullarkey fights are tough because I think he has some solid skills. Like Jamie Mullarkey's a really solid striker. He's well-rounded. Like Jamie Mullarkey can mix in takedowns, take you down to the ground. His grappling's not half bad as well. It's just there's one big giant hole in the game of Jamie Mullarkey, and that big giant hole is that chin. I mean, Jamie Mullarkey is one of those guys who can be looking great in a fight, and it just takes one shot. Getting knocked out by Nasrat Hakparas. I actually called the knockout there. I bet the knockout at like +420. But I mean, you shouldn't be getting knocked out by Hakparas. But that's the thing. That's why I liked it. It's because Jamie Mullarkey's chin is just not great. Muhammad Naimov, knocked him out. You really shouldn't be getting knocked out by Muhammad Naimov. I mean, he was like a -600 favorite in that fight. Who else knocked him out? And there was a whole big list. Jalen Turner knocked him out. And then Alexander Volkanovski knocked him out in the regional scene. And then just some other guys knocked him out outside the UFC as well. So the big problem with Jamie Mullarkey is he can't take a shot, and he's taking on Mauricio Ruffy, who hits very, 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 very hard. So it's hard not to just pick Mauricio Ruffy by knockout. Jamie Mullarkey might actually make this fight very competitive. The striking might be very competitive. Ruffy on the Contender Series in those first 2 rounds, very low volume. He landed 12 strikes in the first round, landed 13 strikes in the second round, was getting out-volumed by Islam Makhachev's buddy. I forget his name, Raymond Magomedov. Got out volume in both the first and second round. Does turn up in the third and gets the finish, but yeah, he was lower volume in that fight. Maybe Jamie Mullarkey can, make this competitive on the feet, maybe make some takedowns. It's just, at some point, I see Ruffy touching the chin of Jamie Mullarkey. Ruffy hits too hard. He's very long, very rangy, and I think, Jamie Mullarkey, he just got knocked out not too long ago. Like that Hakparas fight was like late last year, like December. So yeah, I'm going Ruffy here. I'm taking him to win by first round knockout. And from a prize picks perspective, I'm taking the Ruffy less than 46.5 significant strikes here. It's just, I struggle to see anybody, landing 46 strikes on Jamie Mullarkey's chin and Jamie Mullarkey not going out. And like I said, Ruffy, not the highest volume striker, but when he does land, he lands hard, and I think he knocks out Jamie Mullarkey if he's landing anywhere near 46.5 significant strikes. If you guys want to check that out, use that promo code DFSBTN. All right, moving on. We got Drakkar Klose going against Joaquim Silva. We got Drakkar Klose, 36 years old, 5'9", with a 70-inch reach, 14-2-1, and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Joaquim Silva, 35 years old, 5'8", with a 69-inch reach, 13-4, and 2-3 in his last 5 fights. We have Drakkar Klose as a favorite, opening at -140, currently -155. Joaquim Silva opening up +120, currently +135. And yeah, decently closely lined fight here, no pun intended, and I'm being dead serious. I really didn't intend that at all, but it is a closely lined fight. First of all, what I want to touch on, Joaquim Silva, it's time to lose the nickname. Neto BJJ, let's get rid of it. If you're not submitting Clay Guida, 42-year-old Clay Guida, who's been submitted 10 times, I mean, let's get rid of the nickname. I mean, this is a guy, Joaquim Silva, who I think up until that Guida fight had attempted maybe a sub or 2, but 0 subs in the UFC. And again, if you're not submitting 42-year-old Clay Guida at this point, something's seriously up. So yeah, I mean, get rid of the nickname. He's mostly going in there and striking, and I think this is mostly going to be a fight that takes place on the feet. And if it's not, it's because Drakkar Klose is the one mixing in takedowns here. So yeah, actually kind of like Klose a decent amount in this fight. I mean, the one thing with Klose that I kind of worry about is the chin, the durability. We've seen him hurt on a couple different occasions, and we saw Beneil Dariush knock him out. But other than that, Klose is a very good fighter. Very solid cardio, very good volume on the feet, can mix it up, can land takedowns, very good BJJ. And, Drakkar Klose, at this point of his career, is finally seeming to put it together a little bit. Like, went out there and beat the brakes off of poor Brendan Jenkins. I mean, he beat the brakes off of poor Brendan Jenkins so bad that I don't think we saw Brendan Jenkins in the UFC after that fight. I think he got cut after that fight. They didn't even give Brendan Jenkins like 3 fight. They gave him that one, and I think that was about it. Oh, Brendan Jenkins also lost to Rong Zhu as well. But still, I mean, he beat the brakes off of Brandon Jenkins, and he beats Rafa Garcia, which is a very good win. And then he slam KOs Joe Solecki. So Drakkar Klose at 36 years old is looking, pretty dang good. And he's really been always, pretty solid, Drakkar Klose. Only loss in the UFC coming against Beneil Dariush. That was his last loss, and that was back in 2020 at this point. Joaquim Silva, he's just inconsistent. I mean, I think he's a very fun fighter. He's going to go out there. He's going to put on a fun and entertaining fight. He throws with a ton of power, but, I mean, I don't think he has the best durability. He got knocked out by Arman Sarukian, got knocked out by Nasrat Hakparast, and then the biggest red flag is he got knocked out, and I'm not making this up. I know it sounds like I am. He got knocked out by Ricky Glenn in 37 seconds. I mean, Ricky Glenn knocked this guy out. That was Ricky Glenn. And since then, Ricky Glenn has got knocked out by Drew Dober, looked awful in that fight. Got knocked out by Christos Giagos, looked awful in that fight. I mean, the last time Ricky Glenn won a fight was against Joaquim Silva, and that's a horrible look to me. So I just feel like Klose has a lot of ways to win this fight. He can mix in takedowns. Silva's not subbing him. He's not subbing him. If you're not subbing Clay Guida, you're not subbing Drakkar Klose. Yeah, so he can mix in takedowns on the feet. He can potentially hurt Silva, but he can out-volume Silva as well. I think he'd be the minute winner, really, wherever this fight goes. So I'm taking Klose here. It's the chin that worries me a little bit, but I'm taking Klose to win this fight by third-round knockout. I think at some point he lands a big shot and Silva goes down. Moving on, we got Gene Silva going against William Gomis. We got Gene Silva, 27 years old, 5'7", with a 69-inch reach, 12-2, and 5-0 in his last 5 fights. William Gomis, 26 years old, 6 foot, with a 73-inch reach, 13-2, and 5-0 in his last 5 fights. We have Gene Silva opening up a dog, plus 115, currently minus 140. William Gomis opened up minus 135, currently plus 120. And this is a weird fight. I hate when the UFC does this. They're taking an extremely fun and exciting fighter in Gene Silva and matching him up with the complete opposite. William Gomis, who's just dreadful to watch. And not saying William Gomis is not a good fighter. He's a great fighter. I think he's skilled everywhere. It's just, he's one of those guys, Gomis, who just slows the fight down, makes it just brutal to watch. Nothing happens. He's doing everything in his power to not engage. But he's 3-0 in the UFC. I don't know what to do here because, Gene Silva's a complete madman. I think something's seriously wrong with this guy. I think he's, possessed. I really do. I mean, this guy kind of scares me. I remember him walking out against Weston Wilson. It was the longest walkout you'll ever see. And it felt like you were sitting there for 10 minutes, just walking. I don't know if it had to have been almost 10 minutes. And then he goes out there and starts barking in the middle of the cage against Weston Wilson. And the guy's just a madman, And then you have William Gomis, just the complete opposite. Just a very technical striker, a guy that, wants to out-technique you, whereas Gene Silva, he wants to out-dog you. So this is a weird clash of styles. Who's going to get their way? Is William Gomis going to make this fight completely suck and make everybody very bored, or is Gene Silva going to come out there and start barking at this guy? I don't know. And are the judges going to favor William Gomis, running around the cage, or are they going to favor the barking of Gene Silva? I'm not a judge, but if I was, I would think I would favor the barking of Gene Silva. Gene Silva is going to actually want to go in there and hurt William Gomis, whereas Gomis is not really hurting anybody. I know he got a knockout in his last fight, but it's a weird situation there with a fake cup check, and the ref just stopped the fight. I think that's going to be Gomis' only finish in the UFC. So I don't know what to do here. I'm going to take Silva to bark his way to this win here. But I don't know. This fight's a weird one. Give me Silva by decision. It's weird he's not a dog though, with all this talk about barking. So maybe the line will close in, but I'm taking the guy that does bark, and that's Gene Silva. Moving on, we got Myktybek Oralbai going against Elves Brener. Very good fight here. We got Myktybek, 26 years old, 5'10", with a 74-inch reach, 12-1, and 5-0 in his last 5 fights. Elves Brener, 26 years old, 5'10", with a 72-inch reach, 16-3, and 5-0 in his last 5 fights. Myktybek, He opened up as a minus 210 favorite. He's currently minus 270. Elves Brener opened up plus 180. He's currently plus 230. And I feel like Elves Brener is going to be a very popular dog this week because this is a guy that's just really outperformed his line in really every single fight. He made his debut against, who was it? Was it Abu Bakr or Magomedov? It was... no, Zubair Tukhugov. It was Zubair Tukhugov. He won that fight by split decision, and he was a big dog in that fight. I want to say it was like plus 300, something like that, something crazy. And then against Guram Kudetaladze, his next fight, he's an even bigger dog, I think, like plus 400 something. And he goes out there and wins that fight as well in a fight where he took a little bit of a beating early, showed he had that dog in him, and then finished Kudetaladze late. And then even against his last fight against Krzyzewski, I think he was only like minus 180 to minus 2. It was a closer line fight there. He was the favorite, but he went out there and smoked Krzyzewski and knocked him out cold in the first round. Just brutal knockout win. So Elves Brener went out there and outperformed his line in every single fight. And here he is as a very big dog at plus 230. So when I saw this line, I'm like, what the heck's going on? And then you go and watch Myktybek. And I think Myktybek has some serious upside. I truly do. This is a guy who, they're both 26, but Myktybek, he's 26 years old. And he's just he's not good everywhere. I think he's like great everywhere. We saw what he did in his debut. He took the fight on very short notice against Uros Medic, went out there and just ragdolled him. And that fight was up a weight class too, I believe, 170 against Uros Medic. He went out there, he took him down 7 times, controlled the dude, and he submitted Medic. It was one-sided. Just a great win for Myktybek. And then you go and watch his fights outside of that Medic fight, and I was looking for a guy that is going to go out there and to do what he did to Medic, but that's not the case in a lot of his fights. In a lot of his other fights, his striking's really good. He's knocking fools out. Myktybek is a problem wherever the fight goes. So, like, how do you beat this guy? I'm not entirely sure. Brener, he's a dog. I think he's a BJJ black belt. He has some grappling, a lot better grappling than like a Medic. But Myktybek down at lightweight now. Man, I don't know. I think this guy has some serious upside. I really do. I was blown away with what I saw, not only in the Medic fight, but outside the Medic fight. Like, this guy, Myktybek, could be the real deal. But Brenner's a dog. Brenner is a guy that is going to fight hard. He's going to fight for your money. It's just, I think Myktybek has more ways to win this fight. Can take Brener down. I think he can get some top control. And then even on the feet, I think it can, do some damage, maybe hurt Brener. But yeah, I got to go Oralbai here. I'm taking Oralbai to win this fight. I'll say by decision. Both these guys are good finishers, but both these guys are super tough. Brenner's never been finished, and you can kind of see why if you watch that Kudetaladze fight. He's a dog. So I'm taking Myktybek, Oralbai to win this fight, and I'm taking him to win this fight by decision. All right. Moving on, we got Iasmin Lucindo going against Karolina Kowalkiewicz. We got Lucindo, 22 years old, 5'3", with a 66-inch reach, 15-5 and 4-1. In her last 5 fights, we got Karolina Kowalkiewicz, 38 years old, 5'3", with a 64-inch reach, 16-7 and 4-1. In her last 5 fights, Lucindo, big favorite, like is the case on a lot of this card. Lucindo opening up minus 325. She's currently minus 425. Karolina Kowalkiewicz opening up plus 275. She's currently a plus 355 underdog. And yeah, I mean, I gotta go Lucindo here. Karolina Kowalkiewicz, credit to her, like all the credit in the world to her. She was on a 5-fight skid at one point, and I thought she retired after the Penne fight because getting submitted in the first round by Jessica Penne is extremely inexcusable. But doing that and that being your 5th loss in a row, I thought she was either retiring or getting cut, but no, that wasn't the case. They booked her against Felice Herrig. And I thought for sure, win or lose, I thought that was going to be Karolina's last fight. But she went out there and she smoked Felice Herrig. She subbed her in the 2nd round. Felice Herrig retired, but Karolina did not. And since then, she's rattled off 3 more wins. She's won her last 4 fights. Felice Herrig, Silvana Gomez-Juarez, Vanessa Demopoulos, and Diana Belbita. But now she's going against, Iasmin Lucindo, who beats all those fighters and beats all those fighters very convincingly. I mean, imagine what, Iasmin Lucindo would do to Silvana Gomez-Juarez. I mean, she would do terrible things. Dione Belbita as well, and yeah, Vanessa Demopoulos, yeah, this is a big step up in competition for Karolina from those last 4 wins. But you look at Karolina's losses, it's fighters like Yan Xiaonan, Alexa Grasso, Jessica Andrade, Michelle Watterson. Jessica Penne, I don't like that loss, but every other loss, when she's losing to good fighters. Even back in the day, Claudia Gadelia, Joanna Jędrzejczyk. So when she's winning, she's beating some very questionable fighters, but when she's losing to some very good fighters. So I think Lucindo kind of falls in the middle. I don't think at this point of her career, she's not like an Alexa Grasso, like a Yan Xiaonan, but she's only 22 years old. I think she's going to be very good. But I also don't think she's anywhere as, bad as like a Dione Belbita, Demopoulos Wars, and all that. So I think she's good. I think she's, better everywhere. I think she can get takedowns here, win minutes on top. And then in terms of the striking on the feet, I think all the power, all the damage is going to be coming from Lucindo. With that said, I think Karolina can potentially land some solid volume here, but yeah, all the damage in favor of Lucindo. I think she wins this fight really however she wants, but I'm going to go decision for Lucindo, and I think she passes this test here. All right, moving on, we got Joanderson, Brito going against Jack Shore. We got Brito, 29 years old, 5'8" with a 72-inch reach, 16-3-1, and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Jack Shore, 29 years old, 5'8", with a 71-inch reach, 17-1 and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. So Joanderson Brito opened up -120. He's currently -150. Jack Shore opened up +100. He's currently +130. And yeah, it's tough. I mean, Brito has been looking incredible as of late. He's on, I think, a 4-fight winning streak. Knocked out Andre Fili as a dog. Did it in 40 seconds. Choked out Lucas Alexander, who's pretty good. Did it in 2 minutes. He did knock out poor Weston Wilson. I mean, I'm still not sure who sanctioned that fight. I'm not sure if they got in trouble yet for sanctioning it, but it did get sanctioned, and Joanderson Brito knocked out Weston Wilson brutally on the mat. And then he beats Jonathan Pierce in a fight where he was losing that fight up until he did find a submission late round 2. This is a very interesting fight here because I feel like Jack Shore can potentially win some minutes here, maybe in the grappling. We've seen Brito taken down before, not only in the Pierce fight, like that's not the worst look in the world, but the worst look in the world is probably getting taken down twice by Bill Algeo, and Algeo was able to control him a little bit. But other than that, this is a fight where you got a minute winner versus moment winner here. Jack Shore, I think, is a very good minute winner. I think he can wrestle a little bit. Even his striking is very good as well. It's just you got a moment winner in Brito, and he is every bit of a moment winner. I mean, this guy is going to be dangerous wherever the fight goes, and I feel like at some point he's gonna hit Jack Shore hard, and he's gonna hurt him, and I think he's gonna knock him out. We've seen Jack Shore hurt before. We saw Ricky Simone hurt him bad. Ricky Simone's not much of a power guy. Brito is, and Ricky Simone's a bantamweight, and that's another thing. Jack Shore, primarily a bantamweight. He did move up to featherweight in his last fight against Makwan Amarikani, and in that fight, Makwan won the first round, which is fine. Makwan does do very good early. It's just still, this is a much tougher test for Jack Shore in the featherweight division. And Joanderson Brito, a guy that is dangerous in round 1, 2, and 3. So, and then I'm not sure Jack Shore is going to be able to have a ton of success being able to wrestle as well as he did at bantamweight, as he's going to do at featherweight as well. So, yeah, I think a lot of things are lining up here for Joanderson Brito. I think he stuffs a lot of these takedowns. If he gets taken down, I think he works his way up. And I think when this fight's at range, at distance, Jack Shore might have some success. The striking might be close, but it's the power. It is the power that is all in favor of Brito. I'm taking Joanderson Brito to win this fight by first-round knockout. Moving on, we got Kyle Bahayo going against Paul Craig. We got Bahayo, 31 years old, 6'1" with a 75-inch reach, 15-1, and 5-0 in his last 5 fights. Paul Craig, 36 years old, 6'3" with a 76-inch reach, 17-7-1, and 2-3. In his last 5 fights, we have Kyle Bahayo, massive favorite. Opened up -355, currently -550. Paul Craig, massive dog. Opened up +290, currently +400. And let me start off this breakdown with what I say for every single Paul Craig fight. this is a terrible fight for Paul Craig. And I swear I've said that in pretty much every single one of his fights, but he has won so many of those fights. And he's always the underdog, more often than not, unless he's fighting Vinicius Moreira. But typically, more often than not, Paul Craig is the underdog, and he's a big dog here against Caio Borralho. And I get it. I mean, I think this is a rough matchup for him. I mean, Paul Craig, his primary win condition is that submission off of his back. I know he was able to TKO Andre Muniz. He does get KOs here and there, but primarily when he's winning fights, off his back. And Caio Borralho, he's a very good grappler. Black belt in BJJ. And I feel like Caio just has multiple ways to win this fight. I think Caio, I wouldn't say it's my favorite path for him, but if he wants to, he can take down Paul Craig. I mean, Paul Craig is more than happy to go down to the ground off his back. Would that be my preferred path for him? Absolutely not. My preferred path for Caio Borralho is going to be keeping this standing and just outstriking Paul Craig. I think Caio Borralho is the much, much better striker. I think he hits hard. He was able to drop Abus in his last fight, almost finish him in the third round. Was able to get a knockout win in his second fight on the Contender Series. And Paul Craig, it's always been that chin. He's very hittable. He's getting older. He's taken more damage. He's coming off of a brutal beatdown in his last fight against Brendan Allen, where he took a lot of damage as well, got hurt a couple times in that fight. I think Caio knocks him out. I think Caio Borralho gets his first UFC knockout. Could be club and sub, but I'm thinking knockout. I think he lands a big shot here and knocks out Paul Craig. I think Kyle's going to take his time early on, feel his way into the fight a little bit, and knock out Paul Craig in the second round. It's going to be Caio Borralho to win this fight by second round knockout. Moving on, we have Michel Pereira going against Ihor Potieria. We got Michel Pereira, 30 years old, 6'1" with a 73-inch reach, 30-11, and 5-0 in his last 5 fights. Ihor Potieria, 27 years old, 6'3" with a 75-inch reach, 21-5 and 2-3 in his last 5 fights. We got Pereira opening up -500, currently -600. Potieria opening up as a +375 underdog. He's currently +425. So Michel Pereira at middleweight is apparently a mythical creature. This guy, since moving up to middleweight, has had 2 fights that have lasted 2 minutes. He went out there in his middleweight debut in the UFC and knocked out Andre Petroski in 1 minute and 5 seconds. And then he went out there in his next fight against Mikhail Olazechuk. He hurts him to the body in like the first 15-20 seconds, drops him and subs him, and does that all in about 1 minute. This is the same Michel Pereira that went to so many decisions prior to that. Took Chaos Williams to decision, Nico Price, Andre Fiallo, Ponzinibbio. He was a decision machine. And now all of a sudden he's finishing guys in 60 seconds. And now he's taken on Ihor Potieria, which quite frankly I think is a step down. I know Potieria has looked a lot better than a lot of people anticipated lately. Went out there and got a win against Robert Brichek, who I'm not sold on in the slightest, but he beat him. He beat 40-year-old Shogun Rua. Come to think of it, these aren't great wins at all. But in his loss against Rodolfo Bellato, he did almost win that fight, almost knocked out Bellato in that first round. So that was good. But yeah, now that I'm talking through it, these aren't great wins. But he is losing to solid guys. Bellato's solid. Carlos Olberg knocked him out in the first round. He's solid. Nikolai Negumereanu knocked him out in the second round. That probably shouldn't be happening, but Negumereanu does have power. And yeah, this is a brutal matchup for Potieria. I'm not sure how he wins this fight other than Michel Pereira going out there doing a 7-minute dance routine and gassing out like he did against Tristan Connolly, or getting a disqualification like he did against Diego Sanchez. I think that's probably Poteria's path, but Michel Pereira is so much better. And quite frankly, this is a step down. I think, he beat Mikhail Olazechuk and Andre Petroski in 2 minutes combined. I would favor both Olazechuk and Petroski heavily against Ihor Potieria. So I think there's a reason Michel Pereira is a -600 favorite, which is crazy to say, because this guy used to be one of the most untrustworthy guys I've ever seen in my life. But nowadays, he's fighting a lot smarter. This is a guy in Pereira who's on a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 fight winning streak. Should be 8, because he got the DQ against Diego Sanchez. Should be 8. And then he lost to Tristan Connolly, where he did that 20-minute dance routine and gassed out. But yeah, Pereira's good. He's very good. And I think he sparks Peteria. I think he does it in the first round as well. Not in I wouldn't say in a minute. Maybe he does. Maybe just he's a 1-minute finisher at middleweight. But I'll say first round, mid to late first round here for Michel Pereira. I think he knocks out Peteria. Moving on, we have Vitor Petrino going against Anthony Smith. We got Petrino, 26 years old, 6'2", with a 77.5-inch reach, 11-0, and 5-0 in his last 5 fights. Anthony Smith, 35 years old, 6'4", with a 76-inch reach, 37-19, and 2-3 in his last 5 fights. Petrino, another really big favorite here. He opened up minus 400. He's minus 550. Anthony Smith opened up plus 300. He's currently plus 400. What I'll say is, there's been so many times with Anthony Smith where I'm like, this guy's done. This guy has nothing left. And then he goes out there and wins. And I've been saying that since like 2019. I remember saying that in the Gustafsson fight. I'm like, this guy Smith, he's done. He's taken a ton of damage. He beats Gustafsson. I said it in another fight too. I don't know. I've said it a lot. And he's one of those guys that just surprises you out of nowhere. Goes out there and finds a way to win. But, lately he hasn't been looking that great. He got knocked out by Roundtree in the 3rd round. Not the worst look. He beat Ryan Spann. Ryan Spann was this close to finishing him, though, in that 2nd round. Loses to Johnny Walker in a very uneventful showing. Loses to Magomed Ankalaev. Gets finished there. Anthony Smith has not been looking great late. But, again, this is a guy you should never count out. He has a ton of experience. He's decent everywhere. Decent striker, black belt in BJJ. It's just he's going against Vitor Petrino here, who's just been on a phenomenal roll. Vitor Petrino is 5-0 in the between UFC and Contender Series. Knocked out Rodolfo Bellato on the Contender Series. Beat the Pleasure Man Anton Turkalj. Submitted Marcin Prachnio. Knocks out Modestas Bukauskas, and then takes Pedro to a decision. So he's going out there and showing that, hey, I can go out there and win a 15-minute decision. I can go out there and take your head off, and I can go out there and sub you. So that's a very dangerous guy in Petrino. He's only 26. He's only getting better. Whereas Smith, he's taken a ton of damage. I mean, he's coming off of a brutal knockout loss. That knockout loss against Roundtree was rough, and that wasn't too long ago. That was back in late December, I think. So, yeah, I mean, this is Petrino all day. Could be decision. Could be a grinding-based decision like in the Pleasure Man or like in the Pedro fight. Could be a knockout. Could be a knockout like in the Modestas Bukauskas fight or the Bellato fight. I don't think he subs Smith. I really don't think that, actually. So I think it's either knockout or decision. I don't know. I'll say he wins by decision here. I'll say he takes Anthony Smith down if he needs to. And once Anthony Smith is taken down, he's content to kind of play off his back. So I'm going to say Petrino by like a grinding base decision should be pretty easy for him. All right. Moving on to the co-main event, we got Jonathan Martinez going against Jose Aldo. We got Jonathan Martinez, 30 years old, 5'8", with a 69.5-inch reach, 19-4, and 5-0 in his last 5 fights. Jose Aldo, he's 37 years old, 5'7", with a 70-inch reach, 31-8, and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. We have Jonathan Martinez opening up plus 100, currently minus 165. Jose Aldo, he's opening up minus 120, currently plus 145. And yeah, this is a fight that I'm probably staying away from. I was shocked when they saw this fight was booked because Jose Aldo, I thought he retired. I'm pretty sure he did retire, actually, after the Merab fight. And that Merab fight was 1 year and 8 months ago, which that really cannot be ignored. So, I don't like that. I'm not sure, why he took this fight. But, after looking into the fight, I think it's a very close fight. Like a very close, like narrative aside, Jose Aldo being 37 years old, taking that layoff, retiring, whatever, that all aside, I think it's a close fight. Jonathan Martinez has looked incredible as of late. He's training at Factory X with, Chris Gutierrez, heavy leg kicks, was able to finish Yanez with those leg kicks, beat Syed Nurmagomedov as an underdog, was able to beat Cub Swanson with leg kicks, beat Vince Morales, Alejandro Perez. Like, he's on a roll. I think like a 6-win streak for Jonathan Martinez there. But Different matchup here. Like Jose Aldo, I'm not sure Martinez is going to have much success with those leg kicks here. And I feel like, yeah, he does mix it up well. Like he can go to the body, the head. I think this fight's close. I think Martinez is probably more active. I think he's going to throw more volume here. But I think the power is in favor of Jose Aldo here. It's just, man, 37 off of retirement. I hate it, but I think I'm going to pick Jose Aldo here to pull off the upset. Like, think of it this way. Martinez, he's younger. I think he's going to be more active in this fight. I think he's going to do a bit more, but I think this fight goes to decision. The odds makers think this fight goes to decision. The over 2.5 is like minus 300. If it's a close fight, who the heck is the decision going to in Brazil? It's going to Jose Aldo, right? So I can see like a robbery decision type situation for Jose Aldo, maybe getting out volume, getting outworked a little bit, but landing a big shot here and there. And we've seen Martinez hurt like a couple times. Martinez got knocked out by Davey Grant. Martinez got hurt against Alejandro Perez, dropped in that fight. And Aldo has power, so I'm taking Jose Aldo here. Like, no, not a ton of confidence. If this was like Jose Aldo like 2 years ago, yeah, I'm betting him here at plus 145. But after the layoff and retirement, I think I might just sit back and watch this one. But as far as a pick, I'll go Jose Aldo by robbery decision in Brazil. Moving on, we got the main event. If you guys have not already, be sure to comment down those significant strikes for this fight in total. But we got Alexandre Pantoja going against Steve Erceg. We got Pantoja, 34 years old, 5'5" with a 68-inch reach, 27-5 and 5-0 in his last 5 fights. Steve Erceg, 28 years old, 5'8" with a 68.5-inch reach. He is 12-1 and 5-0 in his last 5 fights. Pantoja, he opened up as a minus 255 favorite. He's currently minus 190. Steve Erceg opened up plus 215, currently plus 165. And when this fight was first announced, I thought it was an April Fool's joke. I really did. I thought it was a joke. I thought it was a fake account, posting this information, just because Steve Erceg just fought Matt Schnell. I mean, getting a title fight off of Matt Schnell, I think it's incredible, honestly. But he's getting a title shot, and not saying he doesn't deserve. Like, Steve Erceg is a very good fighter. It's just that kind of caught me off guard a little bit. And I think Steve Erceg is a guy that just everybody's rooting for in this fight. How cool would it be to be, coming into the UFC like a year and a half ago, like not too long ago, beating a couple guys and getting a title shot this quickly. Steve Erceg, I think a lot of people are rooting for him. And, initially I'm like, yeah, maybe I might take a look at Erceg. And then it's like, you compare their resumes and it's night and day. Like, it wasn't too long ago Steve Erceg's out there in Eternal MMA and fighting Shannon Ross. He makes his debut against David Dvorak. That's a good win. He beats Alessandro Costa. That's a good win. He beats Matt Schnell. I mean, it's an okay win. Knocks him out. And then you look at Pantoja, and he's just fighting the who's who in the division. He's fighting guys like Brandon Royval twice. He's fighting guys like Brandon Moreno 3 times. 2 in the UFC, 1 in the Tough House. He's fighting Alex Perez, who has completely rejuvenated his career. He's fighting Manel Kape and beating Manel Kape, a guy that everybody thinks is going to be the next, title holder in the division. He beat Matt Schnell as well in the first round by knockout. He's fought Davis and Figueroa. Like, the list goes on and on and on with Pantoja. He's fought the who's who, whereas Erceg, his best win is probably David Dvorak. Maybe David Dvorak. Maybe Costa. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, if Erceg wins this fight, it's going to be his best win by a mile. It's an interesting fight. Like, we just don't know. Steve Erceg has shown really good striking thus far, really good volume, decent power. He hurt Dvorak in that fight. I think maybe second round. He knocked out Matt Schnell, but I mean, that doesn't tell me much. A cold shower can knock out Matt Schnell. But yeah, he's shown good striking. His base is grappling. He's a black belt in BJJ. It's just Alexandre Pantoja has proven that he can go out there and go 25 minutes, and he's proven that a couple times. In his last 2 fights, he's went 50 minutes with a guy like Royval and a guy like Brandon Moreno, 2 very, very good guys. So he's already proven himself, whereas Erceg, I don't know. What does beating Matt Schnell tell me? It tells me nothing. So yeah, it's an interesting fight, but I got to go Pantoja. I got to go and still. I think this fight's probably going to decision. Both these guys are super durable. I think if there's a finish, it comes from Pantoja. I would be highly shocked if, and I've seen people saying like Erceg knockout. Erceg's not some murderous power puncher. He just fought Matt Schnell. I mean, Matt Schnell makes everybody look like a murderous. I promise you, he's not. You take a look at Erceg, like a lot of his wins are either decisions or like club and subs. And if he is getting knockout, like a lot of them are like TKO. Like he's not a murderous power. I don't think he's knocking out Pantoja. I don't think he's subbing Pantoja. I think if Erceg wins, it might be. I think if either of these guys wins, it's probably a decision. So I'm going Pantoja and still in Brazil, winning a decision. But we'll see what happens there. Thank you guys all so much for watching. 14 fights. We had a lot to talk about. If you guys could, please, on your way out, leave a like, subscribe to the channel. Check out Prize Picks. Use that promo code DFSBTN. You'll get a 100% deposit match up to $100. Another play I'll throw out for you guys is going to be Alexandre Pantoja, more than 2.5 takedowns. He got like 8 or 9 against Royval. Got like, I think 5 against Moreno. And we know what the game plan is going to be here. It's going to be to get down Steve Erceg. I think this fight probably does go 25. I think he gets at least 3 takedowns. So yeah, check that out. And then lastly, again, check out DFS by the numbers. That's where you'll find all my other content. I do a ton of content on there, multiple articles, stats, first notice on all bets. I do a final betting article where I do a prelim, main card, and Hail Mary parlay, just a ton of other content, and it's the best way to support me. Prize Picks article, you name it. So go check all that out. And yeah, looking to keep the ball rolling, looking to get a 3-card winning streak going. We're at 2 right now, looking to keep circling the wagons here. And it starts with UFC 301. So best of luck, everybody. And we'll talk to you guys very soon. See you later.